It's new.
Mhm.
Hello, everyone. Today, we're going to chat about a couple of topics, and the first one is Op City leads. So, if you are familiar with Op City leads, you can tune me out for a few minutes while I chat about it. But if you're not familiar, Op City leads is a Realtor.com product. I have opinions about it, which you know I'm going to share with you. But for agents who are looking to spend zero out of pocket dollars for leads, I do think it can be just one of the many ways you reach out to try to get business. So, Realtor.com owns OpCity Leads. It is free to enroll. You just need your broker to enroll you. This was for a while kind of like a well guarded secret that this was an opportunity, and no one knew Realtor.com owned it. Um, when I would see the who we were paying, I could tell we were having to pay referral fees to move.com or move.org, and that is Realtor.com. So I had a suspicion it was Realtor.com, and then they rebranded OpCity and went ahead and let everybody know it was Realtor.com. What they do is you have your broker enroll you. You sign a referral agreement with OpCity, as does your broker. And then leads pop up through the OpCity portal. You can have your own portal and or text messaging. Text messaging, as always, is the fastest way to respond to a lead. And when the text message comes through, you can hit the button to accept it. It's going to give you just a couple of details like the price range and the area of town that the customer is interested in, that the lead is interested in. And if you hit the button to opt in and say, I would like to have that lead, hopefully you beat everyone else. You may not have. It will immediately tell you when you hit the button that you've been issued that lead or you've not been issued that lead. It's already gone. So once you get the lead, it pops into your portal, your online portal through OpCity, and you now have to do weekly updates on that lead. You obviously have called them, warmed them up, tried to get them into properties, tried to convert them into a buyer. So OpCity is going to send you reminders if you've not done your weekly update, and it's just a simple update letting OpCity know where you stand with that client. Once it closes, there is a referral fee that needs to be paid by us to OpCity, just like any other referral fee. Now, with OpCity, if the property is over $150,000, it is a 35% referral fee. Now, that is more than I pay in referral fees when I'm giving referrals. However, as far as leads go, what this one has going for it, this program, is that it's no out-of-pocket money. You're only paying if it closes. So you can participate in the program for nothing, and you're only going to owe money if and when a property closes that was a lead from OpCity. Now, if the the purchase price is below $150,000, it's a 30% referral fee. Okay. Now, at some other firms, that might not be so worth your time because you're also splitting so much with your brokerage. But obviously with us, you might have that to give away in referral fees. So OpCity is just another lead generation company that if you can diversify where you're getting your leads and you've decided you want to pay for some leads, in this way, you're able to participate as much as you want, but only pay if it closes, rather than Zillow and Realtor.com leads where you're paying every month whether you convert those leads or not. So just something to think about. I think it's a great thing for brand new agents to use because it is no out-of-pocket money. It's just a referral fee when you close. So you don't have to shell out cash every month for something that may or may not be working. There's also absolutely no long-term commitment. Anytime you want me to terminate you from the program, I go right onto the broker portal and I just terminate you from the program. So no problem. You're not signing anything saying you'll work with them for a certain amount of time. Once it's closed, you do have to provide a copy of the settlement statement because that's how they verify that you're telling them the truth about how much is being paid to them. and we pay them out of your closing check. So who has any questions about OpCity? Has anybody on here been using them? Anything you're curious about? I will say they do slip in some outside of your area sometimes. So I know you got to be fast with that I'll take it button. But sometimes you'll see it's Covington or it's, way out somewhere in a town you don't even know of. So just be careful with that sometimes, because you're putting in your portal what areas you'll work. Anybody have any questions or anything to add about OpCity? Okay. If you'd like to be enrolled, just
Did you go over the percentages, Ashley? Like it's not a normal 25% referral fee? I'm sorry. I've been distracted, so I didn't catch that.
Yes. $150,000 or more purchase price, it's 35% referral fee. Under $150,000 purchase price, it's going to be a 30% referral fee.
And I have had one, gosh, it was a long time ago, probably a year ago, that, bless its heart, it was like a piece of land and it was not very expensive and it was 10%. So that was a referral fee. So it kind of varies. So when you accept the lead, they'll send you the service agreement and it'll have the percentage on there for you. But just know it's not the typical 25%.
Right.
Actually, would we just email you
Sure.
and let you know we want to sign up for that?
Absolutely.
Wonderful. Makes it easy.
Be happy to do it, Nadine. I have a broker portal and I can hop on there, and
Great.
copies of all of the signed service agreements are on there. That way, like Jennifer and I were cutting an OpCity referral fee yesterday, and we just hopped on my broker portal just to remind ourselves of what the split was, what the referral fee amount was on that one. So very, very easy to use.
Great.
Now, also,
yes, please.
It's kind of like a game. They start you with low leads, and the more you close, the higher they go.
Yes. There is an algorithm. Thank you, Erin. There certainly is an algorithm that they're using because they obviously want closings. So if you've proved yourself to be a reliable realtor who can convert these cold leads, and they are cold leads, I don't care what anyone tells you, you are not getting a warm lead. These are just people who click a button online. So if you are able to close these cold leads, they're going to continue to reward you. Yes. Now, philosophically, I'm always going to talk about how I philosophically feel about some of these business situations. I've been buying realtor.com leads for years and years and years. So to go way back, philosophically, I resent the fact that our listings are what are being sold back to us as leads. Of course, that horse left the barn a long time ago. So now with OpCity, we all said, well, that's the last time we're going to let loose of all of our data, and we're not going to pay for our own leads, right? Well, we're doing it again with OpCity because it's the same buttons getting clicked on realtor.com that are generating these OpCity leads. So I get frustrated that I'm not only providing the listings that are creating the leads that I'm then paying for, I'm now also paying a referral fee on the same people clicking buttons if I happen to get it through OpCity. So frustrating to me that I'm almost if I'm participating in the realtor.com lead program and I'm also participating in the OpCity program, I'm now potentially paying a monthly fee and a referral fee. Now, it's probably not on the exact same customer. I'm probably not going to see that customer come through both of those to me because I'm sure they're smart enough to not have that happen. However, it's the same people clicking the same button. So now they've figured out a way to charge me two different ways for it. So
I feel like you're competing with yourself
100%.
because those leads that they're sending you to get to quickly are probably the same leads they're sending to the OpCity folks.
Yeah.
And it's whoever can get there faster.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And realtor.com is getting their money monthly and then also getting it as a referral fee. Yeah, that's right. So that's just, I'll get off my soapbox now about how, again, paid for leads, either referral fee or monthly membership fee or subscription fee, that should be a part of your business model. It should not be the only way you are generating leads, because you are paying too much money if you are only paying for leads. You should be on social media trying to generate more, they're not even organic leads because you're still trying to get leads, but they're free. They are just your time and your energy instead. And you need to be trying to generate leads from multiple different techniques. So paid for leads or referral fee leads should just be one part of that. Okay. Okay. If anybody doesn't have any more questions about OpCity leads, we're going to move on to red flags with customers and clients. I guarantee you every one of us has at least 5 stories about looking side-eyed at your customer or client and wondering what's really going on. So anybody have anything else on OpCity before we move on? Okay, if you want to be enrolled, just shoot me an email or put your name in the chat window and Jennifer will jot you down and we'll put you in OpCity, okay? Jennifer, do you have anything to add?
Oh, hit the wrong button. I was trying to make you big. I'm multitasking this morning. I'm not doing well.
Okay, so moving on to red flags with customers and clients. So these are the hilarious stories, okay? But I can assure you they're not hilarious when they're happening to the agent, okay? Things you should be looking out for is you should just always have a suspicious eye. Everyone is not as truthful as we think they're going to be. Just yesterday, we had an agent saying, well, my transaction's falling apart because they don't have taxes for 2019, tax returns for 2019. They said they were going to, and they don't have them. Well, that is going to be a problem. If the lender is asking for the 2019 tax return and they don't have them, we're at a standstill. The lender's not going to give the money. So that fell apart. And perhaps they thought they did. Perhaps this was just a fluke that they didn't have, that they hadn't filed. Don't know. But stuff happens. Things I really want you to keep a keen eye out for are stories not adding up. This is from a protection standpoint for you and for the other parties in the future transaction. So for you, it's a safety concern for me. I want to make sure, you are being safe with your physical safety, obviously. So please always take someone with you. Please do not work an open house alone. If you are getting ready to work an open house and you don't have anyone to work it with you, reach out to me. Reach out to the private Facebook group and ask if there's anybody who would sit in an open house with you. We have lots of new agents who would love to just sort of pick your brain during a 2-hour open house and watch how you communicate with folks who come in. Stevie's absolutely correct. Lenders love to come in and sit down at an open house and just chat with you and then talk up the folks as they come through the open house. They're always happy to do that. It's easy to forget that we and lenders are literally doing exactly the same thing. We're trying to generate leads. We're trying to get customers, and an open house is a perfect way for a lender to be able to do that. Lenders even sometimes have a budget from their company so they can bring the cookies, So if you are getting ready to work an open house and you don't have someone to work it with you, let me know. I will find someone to work it with you. It's just important that you're not alone in an open house, especially in today's world where we are literally live streaming that we are alone in a house that's vacant, okay? And inviting people to come visit us. So it doesn't take a stretch of the imagination to understand how that could go wrong. So please make sure someone's always with you. And then, so as far as physical safety, same with going to show a house. Listen, in no other walk of life would a random stranger call you on the telephone and say, hey, can you give me a tour of this dark basement in this vacant house where the power's off? And you go, absolutely. Is 15 minutes okay? Can you meet me in 15 minutes? You've got to do that. You've got to have rules in place for yourself, okay? And if you miss a client that potentially was going to buy something, so be it, okay? I don't care if you take your dad with you. I don't care if you take your cousin with you. I don't care if you grab your next door neighbor and take them with you. You can take someone with you. And if you can't, again, shoot an email to me or reach out in the Facebook group and say, hey, can anybody meet me at so-and-so at 3:00 today? I've got to show a house, but I don't know these people. And worst case scenario, if you really can't, snap a picture of their license plate, text it to me, and then please remember to let me know you're alive an hour later. What happens is we get into the showing and we realize these people are lovely and we were so silly to be so nervous. And then we forget to tell Ashley that we're alive and fine. So just make sure you remember to follow up with me and let me know that you're good. So just use common sense when it comes to personal safety and listen to those red flags. Ask some questions. Ask some questions on the phone before you meet them at a vacant house. Find out, do they live in the area? Are they working with another realtor? And those are protection both for your physical safety, but also for agency. You don't want to waste your time showing a house to somebody whose agent is out of town, or worse yet, my favorite, well, we didn't want to bother her on a Sunday. Okay, well, I promise you she's okay with you bothering her because she's your agent. And secondly, you had no problem bothering me on a Sunday when I'm the listing agent. I'm happy to show it to you. But if you have an agent, your agent needs to be showing it to you. So ask the questions. Worst case scenario there is then you get accused of trying to poach their client when you had no idea that they were even working with an agent. Now, you don't have a duty of discovery. You don't have to dig deep and try to find out, but you do need to ask them. And you need to say, is there a realtor you're working with that I can thank for sending you this property? Is there a realtor you're working with? I wouldn't want to step on another realtor's toes. I'm happy to show it to you, but if you've been working with a realtor, do you know their name? You need to be asking those questions, okay? Number one, it's just a waste of time if they're working with somebody else. Number two, it's really more appropriate, obviously, for them to be shown that house with their agent. And then if your customer, and they're a customer before they sign an agency agreement with you. So if the customer is protective with their information, now a lot of customers they don't want you, they want to know about that one house they're calling you about. They don't want to turn it into a relationship, a professional relationship. So at the beginning, they will be a little bit protective because we're all like that. If I'm in a vacuum cleaner store getting ready to buy a vacuum cleaner, I'm pretty short and sweet with what I'm looking for. I'm telling them I'm just looking, right? I don't want to get into a half an hour conversation with the vacuum salesperson so that they build rapport with me. I'm resistant to that. People in our industry are like that too. But I mean, if they're elusive or they are absolutely not sharing any information with you, that is a red flag. Or if you're working with them and they become non-communicative. Anytime a buyer or a seller starts withdrawing from you, there's a problem. You need to figure out what's going on. In the case of a buyer, if they stop communicating with you, at some point, you're going to have to tell the other side of the transaction that you've got some concerns about whether this transaction is going to continue to move forward. Consult me first, okay? We work for our client. We do not want to divulge too much information to the other side of the transaction if it just turns out that they've been non-communicative because perhaps their father died or perhaps they've been hospitalized. There could be a reasonable reason why they're non-communicative. Always try to have more than one way to get in touch with your client. If you only have a phone number, try to get an email address. You're going to want to try to get in touch with them multiple different ways. And if they're giving you some name inconsistencies, we see this from time to time where the stories just don't add up. I will tell you this, we've seen that lots of times over the years, and it almost never ends up in an actual sale of a home. So examples of this may be they don't have a driver's license and the lender is telling, and there's always these stories like, Okay, well, my uncle has my driver's license and my down payment, and he's driving it here from Texas. And then the uncle is only bringing it as cash because he's not trusting of banks. And oops, my uncle drove the car into a ditch, and now he's going to be delayed 3 days. So the earnest money deposit won't be here in time. Can we get an extension on that? And also, I can't give you my email, but I'll give you my cousin's email because I don't do email because I had my identity stolen. Okay.
Kelly is smiling. This is legit.
Oh yeah.
I have no doubt.
Everything
I don't,
just said
as a
was
good agent,
fine.
you dropped them the first excuse.
That's right. And all of that really happened to one of our agents this year. So, and guess what?
They didn't drop them.
They did not buy a house. And then we have an agent at the lake who there's just this big shot guy at the lake who was going to the private clubs and things and name dropping and putting things on people's tabs and things. And he loved to call listing agents at the lake and get the grand tour of these beautiful lake homes. And the listing agents, of course, were giving him a tour, and he talked a big game and, knew all the right buzzwords to sound like someone who could afford an $800,000 house. But really, he was just getting to act like a big shot and have an agent fawn all over him and show them this $800,000 house. He also never bought a house. So red flags are going to come up. I will tell you, every once in a while, there are red flags, but they're real. I mean, excuse me, they're real buyers. We had, I'm gonna tell the story, Jennifer, of Sharon. She got a lead off of like realtor.com or something for a like $1 million house out in Catawba. And these buyers presented every red flag imaginable. They had all sorts of wacky stuff with their like, we can't, our identity was stolen, so we're getting a new driver's license. We're going to send you a cashier's check because we had to close down our checking account. I mean, all of that. And guess what? They closed, and she sold $1 million house to them. I mean, I was gobsmacked. I could not believe it. She was naive about it. She was like, I think they're real. And I'm like, I don't think they're real. And I made her take somebody with her every time she met with them. And they closed on that house. Unbelievable. So surprising, but I guess occasionally, sometimes those stories are true, but I'm here to tell you most of the time they are not. So please use your best judgment. It never hurts to Google someone. However, a lot of times they're not giving you the right name, so it's going to be for nothing to Google. It's red flags like, well, we can't get our earnest money, or all of a sudden there are all these obscure excuses as to why their earnest money check hasn't arrived, or they mailed it, but then it hasn't gotten here 3 different times. Just stuff like that. It's just red flags to be aware of. Jennifer and I hear a lot of that kind of stuff.
And I don't understand, because sometimes, and it's happened to several different agents. I know at the lake, there was a gentleman that was going under contract on stuff and had no intention of buying.
No.
And it's like, why? Like, what are you trying to prove? Are you trying to impress somebody? Like, I don't know what the end game is there. And it's happened in Roanoke as well. Remember the lot over there near the quarry?
Yes.
Like, and it's just, he just disappears. It's like, I don't understand the end game. Yes, Kelly.
If you guys would not put anybody in your car or open a door until they have a pre-qual, that would solve that problem.
Yep.
No matter how bad, if they don't have a bank, I'm not opening the door.
Yep.
So that you're not pop-ups. You don't pop up to see what happens. You get a pre-qual, and if they can't, say, well, nice talking to you. I'm sure there's somebody out there that'll talk to you, but I'm in the process of selling houses, not making new friends.
And this is the best market to have that reasoning, because if they don't have a pre-qual, they're not ready anyway, and they have to make those decisions so quickly.
That's right. They will not be competitive.
Yeah.
Yes, Miki, do you have something you'd like to add or a question?
Good morning. Yes, that actually happened to me, and that's very good advice. I had a buyer that came in, and I was actually able to get them an appointment with a lender that I knew the very next day after they came in and signed the agreement with me. And he thought that he would qualify for something around 250,000, and he qualified for 120, and he
Yeah.
decided that he wanted to wait.
Right.
Because the amount was so low. So getting that pre-qualification is definitely something I learned that I need to definitely do in the beginning before showing
Absolutely.
houses.
Well, because had you gone around and showed him a bunch of $200,000 houses, he was never going to like a $120,000 house.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. It's how I feel. I have a perfectly lovely home. I love my home. But when I go look at these $800,000, $900,000 houses with clients and I come home and I think, where's my bonus room? Where's my wet bar? Where's,
Right.
you know?
Right. Right.
Yeah. Very, very good point. Also, unconventional lending. There is unconventional lending out there. Wholesalers use it a lot. It's sometimes called hard money lenders. It is conventional lending, but when I see unconventional lending, I want to know if this is a wholesaler or not. And a wholesaler, what they do is they go under contract on a property and they try to find another buyer for it before it closes. So they're going to go under contract, perhaps put a 60-day or a 90-day close on it, and they're going to make the contract assignable. And then they're going to find another buyer for that property. And they're going to assign that contract to the new buyer for a fee. So they are figuring out how to make 10 grand, 15 grand without ever even taking ownership of the home. However, unless that wholesaler has written in some sort of exit strategy, some sort of termination right, they are required to close on that property. They have signed a legally binding contract. So when you see unconventional lending with a new client, a new buyer, I want you to poke around a little. Ask about that lender. Ask about what type of loan it is. Ask them what's their intentions with the home. We have to put on the contract whether they are going to occupy the home or not. They have got to indicate correctly whether they intend to occupy the home or not. And you also have to check the box to make it assignable if they are going to want to assign it to someone. The seller has a right to know if they are going under contract with the person who's going to actually close on that property or not. So you have to check the box for assignable if this buyer lets you in on their business operation here, which is to resell those contracts. There are conventions all over the country where people go and learn how to become a wholesaler and how to flip contracts essentially. So I just want you to be aware that that is a business model so that you can recognize it when you potentially see it. And so even though unconventional lending is not necessarily a red flag, like anything's going to go wrong, it just is an indication to you that you need to be asking some more questions. And another red flag I want you to watch for, because we have seen this happen, especially in this frenzied market, is when you're working for the seller and you're the listing agent and they've checked the box on the contract that they're doing a conventional loan, and you look at the pre-qual letter and it's for an FHA loan, you need to be asking questions as the listing agent. Okay. Don't just verify that there is a pre-qual letter. Make sure it matches what they have said they're going to be doing, because we have seen that blow up 3 days later after a multiple offer situation, and they picked this buyer and 3 days later they find out the buyer actually didn't put it truthfully on the contract what they were really going to be doing. I have seen where the buyer's agent filled out that financing section with no knowledge, having never even spoken to a lender. So they're filling out that, oh yeah, this buyer's going to do conventional. They're going to bring $100,000 down payment. That buyer couldn't do any of that. So you are not being truthful as a buyer's agent when you put that on the documentation. it is your job as the buyer's agent to verify some of that. And it is your fiduciary responsibility to your seller as the listing agent to just verify. I'm not saying you've got to call the lender and make sure everything's hunky-dory, but at least verify that the pre-qual letter and the financing section of the contract match. And if you are a listing agent, do not accept a contract that has the financing section unfilled out. It is your duty to your seller to get that section fully filled out. And if the buyer's agent doesn't know, they need to go find out. Because if you're accepting as a listing agent a contract with no financing information, I don't know that you have a leg to stand on to be able to dictate, well, we don't want USDA or we don't want a government-backed loan. I think you've just said, we'll take the contract no matter what type of financing you'd like to do. So even if the buyer's agent is saying, well, we're finding out and I'll get you that information soon, it's not a contingency of the contract if it's blank. So as a listing agent, insist that all of the documentation is filled out fully, especially in this market. You know, you can be even pickier as a listing agent in this market. Anybody have any questions about any of that? Anything you guys have seen? It's story time. Anybody have a wacky story? Okay, I'm going to chalk that up to Zoom delay. Kelly, you got one?
Oh, I've got thousands, but I will tell. We got crazy. I will tell you though, I have forewarned. So if any of you guys have someone that calls up and says, I want to meet you, you can send me their driver's license and then I can run them and see if they have any funky stuff in their background. Because
That's
I do that for my agents in Phoenix. They don't ever go out and meet anyone without being run. So it tells me they're criminals. They'll tell me, you know, speeding tickets, how many properties they've owned, cars, things like that. So you can know what you're driving up on and everything like that. So I don't have a problem loaning that out and helping you guys with that.
Thank you, Kelly. That's very generous. And that was called Forewarned.
Forewarned. Yep.
Forewarned.
Can I tell my story about my all cash buyer?
Absolutely. Those are the best. Just trust me, Stevie. I got all cash.
I had a person call me. He said he wanted to make an offer on a house. That was very interesting because he had not, it was the first call I got on it. So I said, hey, can you meet me at the house? I'm going out there right now. And I met him at the house. He was very kind, very sweet. Told me he wanted to make this all cash offer and he was representing himself. And I was like, okay, you would be unrepresented. And he said, and I'll offer you, I think it was $5,000 over the list price. I was like, okay, but can you send me your proof of funds? And I mean, I did take a chance. I don't normally do this, but when I met him, when he drove up, I took a picture of his car. I sent it to my husband and I told him I'd text him in 20 minutes. Or if there was a problem, I could send a 911 text. He was very nice, very sweet. And I asked for his proof of funds. Later on, I get this weird letter that said, thank you for purchasing a proof of funds letter. We have approved you based on your appraisal, based on appraisal and inspections, and it went on and on and on. And I called the man and I said, this is not an all cash offer. This is not a proof of funds letter. You bought this letter. This is not proof of funds that tells me you have a cash offer. And he kind of argued with me and I said, I'm very sorry, but that's not what it is. And if you want to, I'll send you all the forms. You can fill out the forms. If you want to make an offer, if you're representing yourself, you can do it yourself. Send him all the forms, nothing. So there's a company out there, there's probably several that might be legitimate companies that are, I can't remember what you called it, Ashley, a hard
money lender.
Hard money lender that has done these seminars and has trained these people and has charged them a lot of money to make them believe that they're investors and they're clueless and they think that this company is going to give them the money to buy the house. They might, but it's a loan and they don't tell them that, or they do tell them that with doublespeak and all kinds of fancy language. So this poor guy, I kind of crushed him. He sounded all defeated when I talked to him on the phone. And I was very careful about how I talked to him because I was representing the seller and he was unrepresented. I keep doing bunny ears. I'm sorry. But red flags everywhere. But I also thought, hey, it could be legit and I could sell my guy's house. But I'm very not cautious, but
Skeptical.
try not to be so gullible and, realize that people are more good than they are bad, but at the same time, cautious. Yeah. So I just wanted to tell that, be on the lookout for people calling you and saying they're going to make an all cash offer on your house, then agree to see it, and then do all that. That was
we had an agent have an experience with a wholesaler recently. And this is a true wholesaler. She really does do a lot of wholesaling. And our agent has had a working relationship with her for a long time. And it's always a little tricky because it is a cash offer, because she uses a hard money lender and she does actually close on the properties and then she flips them or holds them. But she made this offer not contingent upon inspections, except she wanted to go back in there. She's got to go back in there and give a thumbs up because she's got to write up a list. Her hard money lender requires her to give a list of what her repairs and things she's going to do are. Her business partner is a contractor. So he goes in with her and gives her a list of everything that's going to need to be done before tenants can be put in there. And she submits this little report to this hard money lender, and then they give her a thumbs up or a thumbs down. So it's not really a cash offer, except it kind of is. And it's not contingent upon inspections, except she's got to be able to fill out this report or they won't fund her her money. So it got a little sticky. We got lucky because the broker at the other firm went ahead and just called the seller and explained the situation. And the seller the seller of the home was an investor herself and was very aware of this particular style of lending. And so then she was like, sure, let her in. I understand what she's got to do. And we just got very lucky that this seller was well-versed in this type of lending. Otherwise, I can see a regular seller saying absolutely not,
This guy said he had never bought a house before, ever.
Yeah.
He was
so red flag.
Nice. He was very nice and very sweet. And he had his script down in his head, buddy. He was, I'll make an all cash offer and it'll be blah, blah, blah. And the letter said it was contingent on appraisal. So I'm thinking, okay, that's why he's offering more. He's going to do this appraisal without any inspections and it's going to appraise for lower. And then he's going to knock down the price like that and we'd be stuck. So it's just, I just wanted to point that out because if it happened to me, it could happen to you.
That's right.
Okay.
All right.
Hey,
Anybody else have anything to share? Or shall we wrap it up?
Ashley, I got a question.
Yes,
I got a quick question for you. Even when they waive inspections, it doesn't stop them from being able to do inspections, does it? Can you clarify that?
So there is an argument going on right now between brokers as to that interpretation exactly, Carla. So
Just sold one.
yes,
and
the argument is
they waived everything, but they did come
is,
back a few days later.
Yeah, because they're saying we're not making the contract contingent upon inspections. So I would argue that the results of any of the inspections they have no bearing on the contract, but we all know that they have bearing on the contract if a discovery is made. So I don't think we're going to have a meeting of the minds for all the brokers in town as to what that truly means. So we are in uncharted territory right now and that's exactly what's happening. People are saying it's not contingent upon inspections, buyers just buying it as is, or we'd like to just have an inspection for our own knowledge. And then they're not writing in what happens if it's bad, or perceived as bad. I'm telling you now, Carla, I am in the weeds on a lot of contracts for our agents right now. And it's over this whole situation where you're trying to be competitive. You're trying to say, we'll make it not contingent. And the other thing I'm seeing is some home inspectors are upselling. So they show up for this home inspection. Maybe it is contingent upon a home inspection, but then the home inspector says, hey, while I'm here, you really need an air quality test, and you really need me to check for mold in the ductwork, and you really need me to check on this, that, or the other. And they've upsold them now to the $900 home inspection. Well, we didn't make the contract contingent upon mold spores in the air ducts. We didn't make the contract contingent upon a sewer line camera. We did not make the all of that, I can argue, and I will argue, falls within the realm of the primary dwelling, and I have a right to look at it. And you're on better standing if you've made it contingent upon a home inspection, but you're going to have a real mad seller who finds out you ran a camera line down their sewer line when you didn't put that in other inspections. So I don't have a good answer for you, Carla. I wish I did. But I will say, I know Standard Forms is still working at RVAR, is still working diligently to come up with some sort of solution for our inspection issues. So
in Carla's case, if it was not, no inspection addendum, it's not contingent on inspections, does that seller have to let them in?
Sellers are saying no.
That's what's happening.
Sellers are saying no. My interpretation was you didn't even want to come look at the house. And that was the situation with this wholesaler. She just wanted to come in and give a thumbs up. And the listing agent was saying to the seller, why are we going to let them open up a can of worms? This contract is not contingent upon inspections. So, and then it gets very, very sticky, and brokers disagree as to the interpretation on that. And then we had one yesterday where an agent called me because they had checked the box that it was not contingent upon inspections. There was no inspection addendum. Okay. They put 0 in clause 17 for the repair remediation limit, and the HVAC system has just broken 1 week prior to closing. So my agent, the buyer's agent, was calling me to say, do we have any right? Do we have to buy this house with a broken HVAC system now? And I'm saying, no. 15B is what references that you are allowed to have a walkthrough and that the home must still be in the same condition it was as when the contract was written. But 15B states that the seller's obligation is burdened in clause 17. So in this case, that's $0. But I believe it puts a protection in place for the buyer. And what I walked our buyer's agent through yesterday was, great. So you're now going to write up a removal of contingency form, which is essentially you're removing the walkthrough contingency, stating that the HVAC system needs to be repaired or replaced. And if the seller says, well, my obligations are $0 in clause 17, and they say, I'll issue you a credit of $0, then your buyer has a termination right. I had to tell him, imagine it said $500. Okay. The seller would say, I'll either fix that HVAC system or I'll credit you $500. And if they credit the $500, the buyer has a termination right. Well, it's the same with $0. And that's my argument, that the seller is not obligated to fix that HVAC system, but the buyer has a termination right if they don't. Which of course took us to the next conversation, which was, well, what if they just patch it up and pump some more refrigerant in it just to get it across the finish line? And I said, well, that is what they can do. So our agent is talking to the buyer about a home warranty program now, so I know that was a roundabout way to not answer your question, Carla, but hopefully Standard Forms is going to have a solution here soon.
No, you answered it. Or when I ran into it, I got a little shocked that they wanted to come back in and do a home inspection. And I didn't feel like I could say no, so it's all good. It worked out. Whatever they found was okay. And we closed on Friday.
Great. And you can imagine though, how that could have opened up a can of worms. So I understand why a seller and a listing agent might say, no, that is not the expectation we had when you submitted our contract and we chose you over 4 other buyers. So yeah, it's creating some strife right now. Yep.
Ashley,
yes.
You might not want to spread this one around, but remember that $1 mediation limit and